Hello everyone, welcome to this new lectures. Today we'll talk about properties. A student at the end of this lecture should be able to know what's property and know how to write property using decorator and using property method and know what's read-only and write-only attributes. So what's a property? Property is the way to manage attributes. As we talked about, we say that the classes consist of attributes and the method of the object that we want to create. So this inclusion or this encapsulations where we put these together in one body, this is how to write the class that is considered the blueprint of the object. So when we write the attributes, we define usually the attributes as a normal variables. So in that way we cannot manage the attribute, we cannot manage the input and the output of that attribute. So the property is the mechanism how to manage the input and output of that attribute. So we can use manage attribute, also known as a properties, when we need to modify their internal implementation. If, for example, if we want to make this attribute read only or write only, we cannot use it if we define this as a normal variables. So properties are the most popular way to create managed attributes. In real world, when you try to define attributes in the class, usually you use properties for all attributes. You do not define the attribute as a normal variable. This is the best and best way to write a class is to write the attributes as a properties. So for example, if we go back to our previous class in the last lectures, we talked about the class employee, and in this class we have 8 attributes, and these attributes represent the employee class, and we have 4 methods. So if we see here, one of the attributes is the employee age. Employee age, if we define the employee age as a normal attribute, in that way we can assign a value for age maybe less than 0 or bigger than 120, and this is for logic is not correct. It will be accepted for the language because the language will not differentiate between whether it's correct or not correct. So how to manage this attribute? Because the normal people, or even if we say it's not retired employee, usually the employee work from 21 or 18 years old until 65, but the normal people will not live over 120 years. So it's not logic if we say the employee age equal to -5, for example. The value will be less than 0 or bigger than 120, like 1000 or something. So this is not logic. So how to manage these attributes? By using properties. So properties are implemented to provide more control in how the values are set or returned from the class. So we can say, example, if the users assign value for this out of this range, we can notify the users that this is wrong, you have to reassign the value, and I didn't accept it. So how to do that? This by using properties. If we go back here to this is our class before. This is the human name class, and this is the employee class, and this is the 8 attributes that we have. We have here the employee age, we define it as none. So here in the main program, after we create the object from the type of class employee and we assign values for these objects, here we assign x dot employee age equal to 25, and if we print the employee age, it will give us 25 because the language will not know this is whether it's correct or not. So if I give it 250, even it will be accepted. So how I can manage this employee age, and I make it will not accept if the value is less than 0 or over 120 years old, for example. Let's go back to our presentation here. So first, there are many ways in Python. Usually other languages do not offer this, but in Python there is many ways. So one of the way and the best is to use decorator. And how to create property using decorator? You have 3 steps. First, you have to make the variable as a private. So here you define the variable as a private in the constructor. When we define the variable in the constructor, usually we put 2 underscore before the variable, so this variable will be as a private attribute. Mean that private attribute, we cannot access the attribute from outside the class. Only inside the class we can access this attribute. So this is the first step. The second step, we create the getter. The getter is how to return the value from this attribute. So we use this at sign, add then property. This is called decorator in Python, decorator. So add property, then we define the function that, or the method that get the value from that attribute. So here, and we name it the name that we want to the user see or appear on the users. So here we define the method as attribute, then in that method we return the private attribute that we define in the constructor. And the third step, we define the setter, and the setter will be the same method name here, dot setter. This is the decorator at attribute name dot setter. So we define the setter and we receive the self and the value that we want to set in that attribute, and we assign the value to that attribute. So self dot to underscore attribute equal to value. And that way we create a property. It's the same steps that like we create a normal attribute, but this is how to create a property. So if we go to the employee example, for example, employee class, for example, that we created before. So here we have employee class, and we have, so here I will make a pen. We have employee class, and we have here employee number as none, and we have employee name from a human name type. This is create instance from another class, and we have self dot equal to employee age equal to none. This is a private variable attribute that we create so we can use it inside only the class. Then we create a property, at property. This is decorator. We define employee age here with underscore, here without underscore. We'll receive the self, then we will return the self dot here supposed to be 2 underscore employee age. This is not correct, sorry for the mistake. And we assign the setter employee age the same as this name dot setter, and we define another method, and inside we can, before we set the value inside the attribute, we can make the condition that we want. So here our condition is if the value bigger than 0 and the value less than 120, assign the value to the employee age here. Otherwise, print error employee age is out of range. So we can try this in the discard. We can try this here. So let's say we want to change this attribute from the definition of normal variable to the property attribute. So here we have to add 2 underscore before the employee age. Then we have to add the decorator for that employee age. So here we say add property and we define the name. We write it here will appear to the normal user. So here we will write the employee age, age, and I will receive the self. Every method in Python in the class will receive a self, and I will return directly, self equal dot employee age. Okay, then I will write the setter. So add employee age, the name I added here, dot setter, and I will write the method for that. Define employee age, and I will receive two attributes, two parameters. The first is self, and comma, the v is for value. Okay, let's say I directly assign the value to the attribute before I make any conditions. We will see the difference here. So self dot underscore employee age equal to value. This is the same mechanism it's worked before without any condition. Okay, so here x dot, I want you to see how the icon for the property is differ from the icon of the normal attribute. So here, this is employee address, normal attribute we defined as normal variable, but this is the property for the employee age that we define as a property. So here, for examples, if we assign the value now, it's equal to 250, and we print it. So the mechanism, it will be the same. There's no change. But here I can, after I use a property, I can control the value. So if I want to control this value, I say if v bigger, less than or equal to 0. Okay, bigger equal to 0, and v less than or equal to 120, for example. In that way, only I will save the employee age. Otherwise, else print error, age out of range. So it's the same code. I didn't change anything. So here, after we print the full name, I will assign the value, then print the age. So I print the name, then assign the value. In this step, it print the error age out of range. And when I print the age here, it gives me none, because the class will not receive the value. This is the wrong value, because the logic say the age cannot be bigger or bigger than 120, and the value I assign it is 250. So here, if I say the age is 35, for example, and I print, so my code is work fine. So here, this is my name and this is the age, and there is no error. So this is the mechanism how to manage the attributes. There is another way to write this property in Python, is using the property method. So this is consists of 4 steps. So the first one, we create a normal variable as a private. We put 2 underscore before the attribute, and then the second step, we create the getter. So we create the normal method, but we create it as a private. We can name it whatever we want. So here it's better to name it like this: get 2 underscore attributes. So in this variable, this method will return the value for the this private attribute, and we create the setter ourselves. Here also we name it, it's better to name it as the same mechanism. We here to underscore, then set, then attribute, then we receive the two parameters, the self and the value, and we assign here the value directly, or we can control it. Then it's extra step, here we attach the getter and the setters to the attribute property. So here we define the attribute that we want to the user see it, and we use the method or another class, we say property, and we tell that class which the getter and which the setter method for that attribute, and this is another mechanism, but I prefer the previous mechanism, this mechanism, and I hope you solve by using this mechanism in every questions or in the exams or quizzes I give it to you. So this is another mechanism, but just to know that there are many mechanisms. So maybe you see it in the books or in the online, you see someone solving some problems using this mechanism, so you know that there are two mechanisms, one using the decorator, add decorator, and the others using method and attach this method to that attribute. So okay, another benefits from using attributes is we can make the attributes as read only for examples. So here, if we want the user do not touch attributes or do not assign values for that attributes, so here we can delete the setter. Just delete the setter and make the attribute only with the getter. So here, if we delete the setter, so the users cannot assign the value from the main program to the attribute. Only he can read the attribute. In that way, we make a read-only attribute. The other way is we make a write-only attribute property. So here, in that way, also we use the three steps we talked about before, but we in the getter decorator, we didn't actually assign the value, we didn't return the value from the attribute here. In the getter, we print the error, or we raise error, and in the setter we can assign the value. This is very good if you, for example, our employee have a password attributes. Imagine that one of the attributes here we have it is the main attribute is password. So usually you cannot read the password. Only you can set your password. It's not a healthy class to if anyone can read your password. So in that way you need to make a property write only property. So in the getter you say you cannot read this password. Only you can set the password, then you can convert or compare the password with the login credential, for example. So let's take examples. This is the class we create last time, and how the question will be in the quiz. Construct this class and include the following. First, use the property for our attributes. That means here we have three attributes and we have to write these three attributes using property. And the default len, so we solved this before. We have a private get full name. Let's go back here to our code and see how to convert these normal attributes into a property method. So first I have to create as this attribute as a normal variable, as a private variable. So here I create as a private variable. Okay, and when I print the private variable. Okay, then I will create the property decorator for each attribute. So here I will add property, and I will define the functions for first name. This is the getter, so here I will return self dot to underscore first name. Then I will create the setter for that attribute. So here at first name dot setter, and I will define the function method for that. So here first name, I will receive two parameters, the first the self, then the value that I want to assign for that attribute, and here just directly I will assign the value for that attribute. So for example, the first name self dot first name equal to value. Here we can make conditions that like so this is a small, this is capital. We can make the condition that, for example, if we want to the first name cannot exceed 10 characters, so we can make the condition if the first name exceeded 10 character, we can print error, or we can refuse to set this value for that attribute. I will repeat this for all attributes, so here I will take a copy from that. So this is the first name, and here I will take the middle name. So this is the second one. So this is the middle name. Here I make the decorator for the getter for middle name. Then here I make the setter for middle name, and I will write the last one. I don't want to copy it. Here at property, and I define the last name. Last name I will receive self, and inside inside this one I will return the self dot last name. Then I will make the setter for that, so I use decorator at last name dot setter. I will use this function last name. I will receive two attributes, the self and the value. Then I will assign the value for that attribute. So this is to answer the first request here. Use property for all attributes. So here we have 3 attributes, and I use property for all these attributes. The first answer. We can see the effect here in the main program after we assign the value. After we make dot, we see that we have 3 attributes created: the first name and middle name and last name. Okay, we didn't make any condition. Thank you for listening, and see you soon in the class.